The much anticipated start to the 2020-2021 NFL season. Was it even going to happen? Well, we could say for sure that we at least have 1 week of football this season, and that's if we're counting our blessings considering how this year's going, I'll take it. But of course, I'm your host Ross Allen. I am once again joined alongside by Alex Kropp, the guy with takes. And man, week 1 of the NFL season has come and gone, and oh boy, is there some stuff to talk about, right?
I mean, you just never thought this day would actually come when we're going through what we've been going through. I mean, March 11th hits, Rudy Gobert goes down with COVID. All of a sudden, we're
After,
like, uh-oh.
touching all the mics.
Yeah, I mean, well, of course. I mean, we'll get into that later. We could do a whole podcast on Rudy
Oh,
Gobert's
man. Gobert.
dumb mistakes. But, I mean, this day is finally here. It was just so nice on a Sunday afternoon in the fall to sit down, watch football for 10 hours and just soak it all in. And
Yeah, I'm glad you said it because I literally spent 10 hours on my couch watching NFL
yeah,
Red Zone in
I
football
timed
in the other
myself.
games. Yeah, I got
I
up
timed it.
less than 10 times within 10 hours, and
Yeah. I mean, I was up
proud.
for 18 hours that day, and I think I got 4 stand hours on my Apple Watch. I mean, that's the goal that I was going for.
You beast. Okay. We're dedicated. That's it's not
Oh
lazy.
yeah,
It's dedication. I literally plan my
it's
whole week around.
research.
It's I'm working. I worked a
Exactly,
10-hour day. Okay.
exactly.
But the first game was, of course, on Thursday night, and that was rematch of the last year's AFC divisional round, the Texans and the Chiefs. And this, you had the Texans get out to an early 7-0 lead, and then you had the Chiefs go out and put 31 unanswered points on them after starting down 7-0, and it wasn't close after a bit. Like, I guess the first quarter was something, but after that, it wasn't close.
I mean, it was almost a repeat of the playoff game from last
Yeah.
year. Besides, instead of a 24-point lead, it was a 7-point lead. But the Chiefs decided, oh, we're just going to be in by 14 anyways. But I mean, the one big thing that I had a takeaway from this game is
Hmm.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire was one of the most talented pass catchers out of the backfield in college. And he wasn't targeted very much in this game. He was a factor in the run game, was not a factor in the pass game. If he gets unleashed in the pass game, this offense just adds another dimension, another weapon that I don't know what defenses are going to be able to do. I mean,
Hmm.
Patrick Mahomes had one downfield throw the whole game, and they have three guys that can take the top off the defense, and they still won by
Yeah.
14.2 touchdowns.
That's so
I mean,
stupid. That's so
what's
stupid.
going to
Also,
happen when this Chiefs offense is actually unlocked?
Clyde Edwards-Helaire really did impress too because he led the league in rushing yards in his first
Mm-hmm.
game. And then also, if you just use his yards after contact, 96, that's more than the next best, which was Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, I
Absolutely
mean,
stupid numbers. So, man, if he could get, like you said, involved in a passing game, that Chiefs offense is going to be just a cheat code. But we
yep.
go from one MVP candidate to the next with Russell Wilson finishing with as many touchdowns as incompletions, which is 4, and that was with a couple drops because they went into Atlanta and they beat them 38-25. The Chris Carson looked amazing. The Seattle offense looked phenomenal, but that defense had a lot to be. They were struggling because you had Matty Ice put 450 on you.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of those yardage, a lot of that passing yardage came from garbage time. I mean, that's what
Yeah.
Matt Ryan's great at. Him and Matt Stafford are the garbage time kings.
Hey, shout out to
But
my
what
fantasy
really
points.
impressed, yeah, of course. I mean, what really impressed me about the Seahawks team, though, was Jamal Adams made himself known early and often in this game. I mean, the amount of times you saw him crash off the edge on a 3rd and 1 and get the guy in the backfield or make a massive stop on a run play. I mean, he was causing problems in the backfield. He was running around making plays, and it's looking like a great investment so far. And I did not think that I was going to be able to say that
If
with
he
what the Seahawks gave up for him.
Exactly. If he keeps up this performance, this very well may be the best offseason acquisition of this year.
Definitely.
Next
Definitely.
game, we had a little less of an exciting game. We had the Jets take on the Bills in Buffalo, with the Bills coming away with this one 27-17. But man, Josh Allen, he could be good, but he could make some really, really confusing plays sometimes, whether it be trying to run with it and looking like a running back. To be fair, he's as big as one. Or it's a lack of finesse where he had the guy wide open in the back of the end zone and he sails the ball 5 yards over his head into the stands. If
I mean,
he needs to clean it up, but if he could clean it up, he could be a really good quarterback. I still think
yeah,
he is a good one.
that's kind of Josh Allen's MO is you got to take the good with the bad sometimes. I mean, he ran the ball well. He missed some throws. Stephon Diggs looked good. John Brown looked good.
Hmm.
That offense, it looks like they can put up points enough to where the defense can keep them in games. The big thing that I take away from this, and I've been saying this for the last 2 years, seeing Sam Darnold in college, figuring out, I see what people see in him. He's one of those, prototypical 6'4" quarterbacks, pretty mobile, got a big arm coming out of USC. But when are we just going to decide that Sam Darnold is not a good football player? I mean, this guy has made every single excuse, and you have a guy on the other side, Josh Allen, same draft class. Everyone thought Josh Allen was overhyped, but he's consistently overperformed Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold has just not played well in his first couple of years, and we just keep thinking, oh, this is a franchise quarterback. They just need offensive line help. They need receiver help. They need a better coach. But Sam Darnold, maybe we just shift the blame onto him because he's not a good quarterback.
It's hard because I think it's a little bit of both. He's definitely not the best quarterback in his draft class, but at the same time, the situation he's in, and especially Adam Gase, who could hardly even coach a JV team in high school, let alone an NFL team, he's definitely not helping him along the way. I think
give it a rest though. Sam Darnold is not a good quarterback. How many chances are we going to give this guy? How many?
2 more years or like a year. How much left is on his rookie contract until he becomes a backup on other teams signed for super cheap?
Yeah, I mean the Jets have nothing to play for anyways. I mean we can almost write this team off in week 1. I mean
You mean almost? I already did.
Okay, yeah, I stand corrected. I mean this game ended up closer than what it should have been, but this Jets team is just really, really bad.
It's hard because
they're gonna.
Yeah, I want to give the benefit of the doubt. You weren't here for this, but I actually explained like a couple months ago that Sam Darnold is actually secretly one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Given we all remember that he that one game where he was seeing ghosts, right? So what that means that he has not only most people only have 5 senses, he has 6. So he has one extra sense than any other quarterback in the league, which does make him as elite as Joe Flacco.
Yeah, some people say he has supernatural talent, but I mean, I'm just on the other side of the train, and he needs to be cut tomorrow.
Yeah, good luck with that, Jets fans. They will never swallow that. They're a little too prideful over there. Next game, if we want to talk about disappointment, whether it be to the Lions, which is a perennial disappointing franchise, or you want to talk about disappointment when it comes to quarterbacks, hey, Alex, did you know that Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes were taken after Mitch Trubisky? No one ever seems to mention that. But
did you also know that the Bears traded up to get Mitchell Trubisky?
They did.
No way. I mean, all those factors coming together for a guy like Mitchell Trubisky out of North Carolina, who didn't even put that good of stats up in college.
But that doesn't matter, though, because Mitch Trubisky is back, baby. 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. The Bears actually come back after trailing 23-3 in the fourth quarter. Oh, man. Lions fans, I really do feel bad for you, especially when you had Swift dropping a wide open, easy touchdown pass with 11 seconds to go.
Here's what I don't understand.
Pain. Just pain.
Here's what I don't understand about that play. I mean, DeAndre Swift runs an incredible route. I mean, you see him out of the backfield. Yeah. He runs his little wheel route. He gets wide open right on the front pylon. He knows he's in the end zone. And you see the replay, and he's looking upfield like he's trying to go run 15 more yards and break 2 tackles. Dude, catch the ball and fall down. What are you doing, man?
And that's
welcome to the NFL, rookie.
He had a good game up until that point too. He was doing well, especially for a rookie.
He did.
But it's hard because he's a rookie, but that is an inexcusable play to make. And you know that Stephen A. Meme where it's just pain. That's all I imagine every time I think of the Detroit Lions.
An underrated thing about this game is when is Adrian Peterson going to stop being a productive running back? I mean, he had 14, 15 carries for 93 yards, and he just got signed a week ago.
Right.
I mean, this guy's been doing it since 2007.
He's ridiculous. Who's going to be in the league longer, Adrian Peterson or Frank Gore? Who knows?
It's really just a battle for the ages right now. They're just trying to outlast each other. I mean, more relevant question: who's going to be in the league longer, Adrian Peterson or Sam Darnold? My money's on Adrian Peterson.
Oh yeah. That's our one not to take. Next one, we need to talk about the Green Bay Packers. A lot of people wrote them off this season. To be fair, it's only week one, but week one means we get to overreact about everything.
Here we
They
go.
go into a very hyped up Vikings defense. They go in to that very nice, still one of the best stadiums in the league, US Bank Stadium, and they put the hurting down on the Vikings, 43-34. The Vikings D gets embarrassed, but hey, revenge tour. Aaron Rodgers looks like the Aaron Rodgers of old.
I mean, here's the crazy thing is you look at what the Packers did in the offseason. Obviously, super disappointing. You draft a guy you don't need
You
for
trade
three
up
years
to
in
draft a
Jordan
guy you
Love.
don't need.
I mean, exactly.
Take
I
no
mean,
receivers.
Theme of the podcast so far is trading up for dumb quarterbacks. But
Right.
here's the underrated part about the two guys that Aaron Rodgers has as 2 and 3 receivers is they're both 6'4", 6'5", and with Aaron Rodgers and the type of accuracy he has, his downfield throws have gotten year over year more and more accurate. And with big targets like that, it doesn't matter if they're, great route runners or polished receivers. If they have one good skill and they can do it the right way, Aaron Rodgers can make them a good player. And that's what he did this weekend. And also Devontae Adams. I mean,
Made a lot of fantasy owners happy.
Oh my gosh, this is the best receiver in the league if he stays healthy, which is his main issue. But Devontae Adams, his route running is pristine. That toe tap he had on the right side of the end zone
Pristine.
was picture perfect. I mean, you draw up a play, and then all of a sudden it goes out the window. Rodgers rolls out to the right, and if you put it in one wrong place to Devontae Adams, he's still going to make the catch, and he's still going to toe drag, and it's just a crazy connection that him and Rodgers have.
There's really something bad. Man, imagine if they actually drafted real weapons besides Devontae Adams for Aaron Rodgers. This team, if they keep it up, this team could be a real big problem, not only in the AFC North, but hell, if they keep playing like this, they're going back to the NFC Championship game without a doubt. Next game.
Seems like they're on track for. Seems like they're on track to get blown out by the Niners again in the NFC Championship.
All right, we'll get to the Niners in a second, but let's talk about Cam Newton making his debut in Foxborough, brand new offense, and it's the Dolphins, but they put a hurt down on the Dolphins, 21-11, and man, Josh McDaniels drew up a perfect game plan for Cam Newton with his designed quarterback runs. That's how he had a couple of rushing touchdowns, and man, given the way that they were looking, I would not be surprised if Cam Newton has more rushing touchdowns than passing this year.
Cam Newton's going to have more rushing touchdowns than every other Patriots running back combined this year, and I don't think that's a crazy statement. But no. What was kind of fitting about this game was that the Patriots had a ton of players opt out this year, but Bill Belichick, year over year, it doesn't matter what players he has. His system is so polished and so dialed in that it doesn't matter who you throw out there on the field. They're going to have an incredible defense.
I mean, he's only proving that he's the greatest coach of all time.
Agreed, and especially with the type of offense now that they can run with Cam. I mean, they're just going to grind out the clock. They're going to have 33 to 37 minutes TOP every single game. Defense is going to hold up. I mean, they're going to put some teams in bad spots. They're going to win ugly, but I think they're going to be a decent team this year.
I do. They could definitely be threatening for that 7-6 seed right now if they keep this up. Cam Newton, another guy on the revenge tour. He's looking good. And Bill Belichick has to be smiling to himself because former Patriots players, Gostkowski and Tom Brady, which we'll get to in a second, they had the rougher Sunday than New England did. And it was nice to see Josh McDaniels having a quarterback that probably doesn't yell at him on the sideline.
Yeah, Gronk had a tough week too. Tough week for the Owskis and Tom.
Right. Next one we had, this one was painful. The Philadelphia Eagles lose to the Washington football team 27-17 after being up 17-0. The battered Eagles give up 10 sacks. That Washington D-line is looking special, and Chase Young might as well just give him the NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year award already because that's a grown-ass man.
10's a lot, right?
10, see, you give up double digits.
Carry the one.
It's too much if you're the Eagles.
It's too many. I mean, you worry about Carson Wentz.
The
You
injury
worry about
problems.
Carson Wentz being, yeah, you read my mind. You worry about Carson Wentz and the injury problems, and then all of a sudden you just say, oh, yeah, let's sack him 10 times and let's see how he holds up.
It's
I
hard.
mean,
You got. They were missing three starting offensive linemen, which is no small deal, but still, you have to be able to design. It maybe it's less than O line, but it's more about their game plan and their play design.
yeah.
You have to be able to get the ball out quicker. You have to keep the. If you need a dink and dunk, you dink and dunk. You get more on the run game and the screen game especially to slow down that pass rush to keep them on their toes. They
Yeah. I
didn't
mean,
do that.
granted, the Eagles, like every single week you talk about them, they were missing their guys. They were missing Miles Sanders. They were
And
missing their
then
offensive
Scott
lineman, like you
Boston went
said.
out too, or
Yeah.
Boston
And
Scott.
then
Yeah,
Boston Scott, yep.
yeah.
And then one other big thing, and I think this one underrated, but their swing tackle from last year, Vaitai, is now on the Lions. And he was the guy that kind of plugged the holes whenever Lane Johnson was out, because Lane Johnson was out a lot.
Which sucks
And
because Lane
Vaitai,
Johnson's fun to watch. Yeah.
he's one of the best offensive linemen in the game.
Yes.
And I know since an offensive lineman like yourself would appreciate what kind of a nasty player he is, but
He's just an
you know,
animal. That's why Quinn Nelson is one of my favorites.
yeah, this Eagles team is just not deep enough to be able to withstand these injuries. And until they get healthy, I think they're just going to be, one of these 7-9, 8-8, 9-7 teams that just doesn't have the juice to beat teams on a regular basis.
You're really generous with that 9-7 record right there. I'll tell you that much. Now,
yeah, I mean, they play in a bad division.
Yeah, it may be the worst. Now, it's a new era, Alex, because we had not the Oakland Raiders. We had the Las Vegas Raiders playing the Carolina Panthers in a heavily contested, actually a better game than I thought it was going to be. Fun back and forth game with the Raiders pulling this one off 34-30. And Josh Jacobs, he not only took the offense and put it on his back, he took the Raiders team, put that on his back. He took the organization, put that on his back. He took the Death Star itself over in Las Vegas, and he put that whole stadium on his back because 3 touchdowns, just taking over the game, killed it in the red zone. You couldn't stop him, and he is pissed that he didn't get that NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year last season.
Oh, yeah, he is. I mean, this is one of those games where every single time they cut to it, I still cannot get used to the Las Vegas in front of the Raiders. I mean, it doesn't look right, but I'm sure in a year it'll get a little better. But one of the big takeaways I had from this game was that with Joe Brady coming into the offense, with Teddy Bridgewater, Teddy Two Gloves, coming in as the quarterback, you thought there might be a couple different wrinkles that they throw in. You thought they have some sort of innovation, but I think the book is out on Teddy Two Gloves. He cannot throw the ball down the field. I mean, their 2 best receivers, DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel, are going to not catch the ball 10 yards down the field at all this year. I mean, he's just screen pass left, screen pass right, tunnel screen, throw a hitch, throw a slant, maybe throw deep to Robbie Anderson once, and hopefully he breaks a tackle and runs 75 yards. But that offense is just so predictable that if you just crowd the line and hope that those guys, don't break tackles and run after the catch, this team is going to be so predictable and they're going to be easy to stop, I think.
And that's when you need to, you go to the backup, MVP PJ Walker, the best quarterback that the XFL has ever seen, from my very own Houston Roughnecks, and you put that boy in, and he will throw for 400 yards guaranteed.
Talk about a guy that's actually fun to watch. PJ is actually going to put something on the field that you'd want to tune into. I mean, Teddy's just dink dunk, dink dunk, dink dunk.
It's hard because I want to like Teddy. I really do like phenomenal story. 5-0 with the Saints last year when Drew Brees was out, but he just has to be able to push the ball down the field. He needs a little more.
And the guy's game doesn't evolve ever. He's been the same quarterback for the last 5 years.
Yeah, is what it is. We'll see.
It's frustrating.
Yes, that's the best way to put it. And speaking of frustrating, one hell of a segue. You got to feel for the Colts fans because you can take Philip Rivers out of LA, but you can't take the interception out of Philip Rivers. It doesn't matter. I don't know where I was going with that one. Philip Rivers.
I was honestly tracking
team.
you on that.
Where
I was
you?
tracking.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Just make.
I mean,
sure,
I know what you're trying to say.
Here we go. How about this? New team, same Philip Rivers. No matter what, he's going to be forcing the ball and he's going to be throwing interceptions. But if you're a Colts fan, you have to feel for this. Colts with 445 yards of offense, more offensive yards than the Jags, more first downs than the Jags. They didn't punt once, and they lose 27-20. Minshew Mania is still alive.
I mean, that is one of the craziest stats of week one, I think. 445 yards of
No
offense, no
punts.
punts,
No
and you
punts.
put up 20 points, 2-0. That's it. I mean,
Oh,
you saw
man.
some things today out of the Colts that you'd expect out of a Chargers team, but you thought that maybe when Philip Rivers goes from the powder blue to the navy blue or the
Royal
royal blue or
blue.
whatever,
Royal blue.
whatever blue you want to call the Colts, you thought that some things might change, but when you tune in the fourth quarter, under 7 minutes to go, Philip Rivers is driving, hoping for a touchdown, and that's just how it is every single time.
See, there's this dude
And
on Twitter trying to say he's a
some
changed
things just
quarterback.
don't change.
There's a Colts fan on Twitter trying to say he's a changed quarterback. I said, no, all you're still going to get a man that throws interceptions and is going to yell "dag gummit" after every play. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
same guy.
Man's not
But
different.
but hey, Gardner Minshew does not want to tank.
Do you know how many incompletions Gardner Minshew had this week?
Was it like six? No, not even like
The answer is one.
yeah. The one
He was 19 for 20 today. The only incompletion he threw was a ball to Laviska Shenault that I think should have been caught.
with
But
three tutters.
it's crazy to think. I mean, he only threw the ball 20 times, granted, but one incompletion out of a second-year quarterback with a Fu Manchu,
That's some old
that's
school Alex
impressive.
Smith stuff right there. Back when
That's
he was with the
impressive.
Niners. That's exactly what he.
Yeah,
Yeah.
impressive.
I'm really impressed by him. To be honest, I'm surprised that they're still here, and that they just didn't. The team itself, they didn't roll over and lose. They didn't accept the tank, which is bad for the organization and the GMs and the owner. But if you're a player on that team, hey, that's good. It's good.
I mean, here's one takeaway I have from this game is the NFC South or the AFC South might be the worst division in football, and
Mhm.
I don't think it's close anymore. I mean, with the way the Titans showed up on Monday night, I mean, granted they played a hard-nosed Broncos team, but the AFC South is just not a good division filled with four teams that are just average, and then you got the Jags and the Texans. Well, I don't think the Texans
You
are very good, but
If that
that's
whole
that's a different point.
division went 8-8, I would not be surprised.
I mean, to say that every team is going to split their conference
Yeah,
their conference schedule. I mean,
it's
that's already a given.
it's rough. And now, if we
Yeah.
want to talk about bad performance, possibly the worst
Oof.
performance of the week and of the season so far, we had yeah,
Yuck.
we had the
This was like number two.
Ravens at home against the Cleveland Browns. The Ravens put up 38 points on the team, 38-6. Is it that the Ravens are still this good, the Browns are still this bad, or both? And then even worse, you had a man who's really good off the field in his commercials. Love Baker Mayfield in his commercials, but when it comes to on the field play, awful. First drive of the season ended in an interception. A man
I
that
mean, they
had
had
22, 23 interceptions last year, not a good
you'd
start.
think you'd learn something by now, but it's one of those things where you just look down at that score and you just wonder when are the Browns going to realize that this is just not a good football team. I mean, you give up you put up 6 points in an NFL football game against the Ravens defense that I don't think is as good as last year, but they made the Browns offense look like a JV team.
Mm-hmm.
Baker Mayfield couldn't throw, he couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat. Odell had 2 catches for 22 yards, which I think is hilarious that he had 22 yards and,
Two
all
catches.
the stuff about him. But I mean, I don't know if he had 2 catches or not, but he had 22
Yeah.
yards. But Lamar Jackson picked up where he left off.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a great playoff performer so far, but I think he's going to be one of the best regular season quarterbacks this year. They're going to be 14, 13, 12 wins. They're going to have a 1 or 2 seed. They're going to be up there, and the Browns are just going to be perennially disappointing.
Also, you gotta be disappointed for Nick Chubb too. Did jack that game. If we
Yeah.
want to talk about fantasy, we'll go deeper into fantasy in episode 51 later this week. So stay tuned for that. But it's just bad all around. And then if we want to talk about a stinker of a game too, let's talk about the first quarter of the Chargers Bengals game. Joe Burrow in his debut, Tyrod Taylor making his debut for the Chargers. Chargers with some very bright yellow pants. I do like their revamp of their uniforms, but I did not like the white on yellow. It just didn't look good on the TV.
That makes one of us.
In my opinion, I think it would if they did yellow socks with the power blue pants with the whites. Now you're talking, but or the Chargers escape with the win, 16-13, and Joe Burrow goes down with the L in his first game, and that's not due to him. But that offensive line, we saw the videos in practice of Joe Burrow just running a marathon away from that D line, and that if practice means anything, that's exactly what happened in this game too.
Exactly. I mean, this was an absolute snooze fest, and even with only 3 game, which
It was like
don't get me
six,
started.
8 punts in the
Don't get
first
me
quarter.
started on why there's 9 morning games and 3 afternoon games on an NFL slate. That just baffles my mind. But in out of 3 games, I didn't have to watch the Chargers Bengals once. That's how boring this game was. The
That hardly
only
even showed down
interesting
red
play we
zone.
had, no, I mean the only interesting play we had was Joe Burrow running a QB draw for a 20-yard touchdown on his first NFL touchdown, which
Now
was
that
awesome,
was
by the way.
impressive.
But I mean, God, this team, both these teams are just so underwhelming. There's nothing else to say. I
No,
don't want to
no,
talk about this
no.
game
That
anymore.
sums.
It's boring. It's
All right,
ridiculous.
moving
We're
on
we're
to
losing listeners.
a, be- a better game here. But still, I think it was a little disappointing given what it was supposed to be hyped up to be. It was the Bucks at the New Orleans Saints. The Saints coming away with from this game 34-23. Your winners. This was supposed to be a matchup of two of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. And to be fair, I don't think they showed up. Breeze looked better than Brady. And Brady, if we're talking Brady standards, an interception and a pick six, that's not a good look for him, especially in his debut.
No, I mean I think there's questions that needs to be raised about this Bucks offense. I mean, the way that the team is set up, it's not set up for a quarterback like Tom Brady who likes to have a quick 3-step drop, get the ball out quick. But
No, except for
he's
Jameis that
not
closes his eyes and chucks the ball to any, I guess, Bucks player that he could see.
you can rag on Jameis for the way he runs his offense. He's throwing the ball down the field. He's turning the ball over
Mm-hmm.
like it's a hot potato. But at least he was able to run around, make something happen. And these receivers that the Bucks have are really, really good at improvising. They get downfield,
Mm-hmm.
and Jameis could push the ball downfield. Tom Brady is not that kind of quarterback.
I think
He's
what
and this
really
is
hurt them was their lack of chemistry. It was obvious on the field. They
Yep,
just weren't clicking at points, and that really
agreed.
costed them, you know?
And I think this O line made Brady look like he was 50 years old. I mean, he's not a guy that can move around the pocket like he used to. I mean, he was so good at maneuvering the pocket when he was younger,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
avoiding rushes, moving to the left, moving to the right. That pocket mobility was really one of Brady's strong suits. But he doesn't have that juice anymore, and this O line is not going to be able to hold up for these receivers to get open downfield. And I have serious questions about the way this offense is going to operate moving forward.
And to be fair to Jameis Winston, Tom Brady is now on pace for more interceptions than he had. So good for him. He's the Bucks throw a pick
Oh
six,
boy.
but now we see Jameis Winston actually win a game because he's not on the other side. So
Yeah.
congrats, Jameis. Really, really happy for you, man. And now, how about maybe the biggest upset of the
Ugh.
week? This was the Arizona Cardinals at the San Francisco 49ers, taking this one 24-20. You had all the young talent of the Cardinals just running wild all over the Niners. And I don't want, don't overact, but the Niners did not look good in their first game of the season.
All right. I mean, let's not overreact to this. I mean, this is one of those situations where the Niners were without their 3 top offensive weapons in the second half. Ayuk and Debo are out. They don't have a receiver. Their 2 best receivers this week were Kendrick Bourne and Trent Taylor.
Who?
You ask any random NFL fan, they're not going to know who those guys are.
Which,
Kittle had a knee sprain on a nasty hit by Buda Baker, which was completely legal,
Mhm.
but still a nasty hit that
Hey,
I
Buda
think was a
Baker
little
making his money
unnecessary.
just by taking out the best tight end in the game.
Agreed. And this is one of those things where I just don't think you need to overreact to this Niners team. They're going to be okay. They're going to put a hurting on these New York teams the next couple weeks. The Jets are in for a rude awakening next week. This Niners team's going to hang a 40 piece on them, and it's not going to be close. But what I think was the most alarming thing about this game
Mm-hmm.
was that Kyler Murray, when he improvises, he puts fear into that defense. Every
He's
single
so
time that
fast.
man broke the pocket, I thought he was going to run for a touchdown. I mean, it's crazy. And the Niners, the way they played this game was alarming to me because instead of rushing their guys, aggressively to the quarterback, they kind of just like stayed in their rush lanes, didn't get so aggressive. But the problem with that is if you stay in your rush lanes and you try to spy Kyler Murray, you don't have enough athleticism on that front seven to be able to tackle him in space. So you're almost just wasting a pass rush
Mm-hmm.
and preparing for him to just maneuver around the pocket and maneuver around these defensive players without having a counter to it.
I
They need to
guess
fix something,
the only way to
and they need
contain
to do
him
it
is
now.
what it looks like. You can't have your DNs rush upfield. You
Mm-hmm.
have to rely on your interior defensive lineman to pass rush because you have to keep your
Agreed.
ends on contained. Then hell, you might even
Yep.
have to keep at least one linebacker, maybe even two, spying him in the middle
Yeah.
of the field. It's ridiculous. He was putting people on skates, and
Yeah.
his speed was scary in the middle of the
Yeah.
field
It
when he
was
broke
it was
out.
apparent in that game, and he made the 49ers tacklers look like they were JV
Mm-hmm.
players. It's
Straight up.
ridiculous.
And now, the first Sunday night football game of the week. This one taking place in the $5 billion SoFi Stadium, which did just it's a piece of art. It really
It looked like
is.
its own city.
It's honestly
It's
that
crazy.
stadium is absolutely stunning from the Oculus scoreboard, just from
Mm-hmm.
what it looks like on the inside. The roof looks amazing. The only thing that made it look bad was that really stupid new Rams logo right there in the middle of the field.
I
It
mean, what are they thinking?
it we had the show on this like a few months ago now when they released that,
Yeah.
and we pretty much just spent 20 minutes crapping on them because it looks bad. But that's not the point of this. The point of this is that you were really high on the Cowboys. I don't know how you're feeling right now, but we'll talk about it. But you're high on this Cowboys team, and can you say that they didn't live up to the hype this week? Can you say
You
that
know, you
they
know,
disappointed this week?
I think that there's a couple ways to react to this game. You can talk about, the Cowboys not living up to the hype, not performing, but at the end of the day, they did not play well this week. They were winning at halftime when they shouldn't have been.
Mm-hmm.
They were a bad call away from being in position to have the game time field goal or even go in for that game winning score. I think that offensive PI call was absolutely atrocious. There were two PI
Oh yeah,
calls this
oh
week,
yeah. Jalen
offensive, that
Ramsey,
were
actor of the year.
just so bad. I mean,
Give them the
you get
Oscar.
paid.
Give them the
I mean,
Oscar.
yeah, and that's fitting because he got paid enough to be a freaking Hollywood actor right now. But it's just one of those things where I think that the Rams had a great game plan. They bled the clock. They dominated the time of possession. They got back to their roots. They ran the ball 40 times for 153 yards. Cam Akers looks good. Malcolm Brown looks really good. I think this offensive line, when they fire off the ball with some bad intention, it sets up the play action, which is the only thing that Jared Goff is good at.
Mm-hmm.
Jared Goff is not a good quarterback
No.
unless he's in the play action game, unless he's getting crossers down the middle of the field, unless he's got Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Tyler Higbee.
Robert Woods. Speaking of him, he went
played really,
off
really well
this game.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it be
I mean,
in the run game or in the short pass game when he was just getting the short catch, it was the yards after the catch that really impressed.
yeah, I mean, he played well. This Rams team is the best when they're running the football and getting play action off of that, and that's their formula. And if they do that week after week, they're going to be a good team, and they might be the best team in the NFC West.
Well, I really liked how this Rams team, at least in the first half, really reminded me of the season they went to the Super Bowl. Whether it be Sean McVay's offense just clicking and then moving the ball down the field. Yeah, Jared Goff doing. I mean, he's not going to light the field on fire, but he was doing plenty and he was making smart decisions. There's actually a stat where he had the most or he is like the least amount of negative rated passes, something from the crazy stats from Pro Football Focus. It was something like the least amount of the negative rated passes in the league this year, or this week. So Jared Goff, the smartest passer of week one, and that might be that's to the system, but that offense was working for him. And if we see this offense like this is why Jared Goff can succeed.
Yeah, and I think would be remiss to say that Aaron Donald is one of the most incredible
Did you see him throw Zeke?
I've ever seen. It's ridiculous how quickly and how effectively he gets into the backfield. I mean, you can put 2, 3, 4 or 5 guys on him, and he will get into the backfield without hesitation. I
Well,
mean, this
the
guy's
Rams are
pressure rate.
running a three-man front and just having him go against the interior three offensive linemen, and he was winning.
He's his own blitz. I mean, you think that they're sending an engage 8 on him from the old Madden plays, and you got only 3 guys rushing. I mean, he makes that defense look so good. He deserves to get as much money. He deserves to get Patrick Mahomes money.
Straight up.
That effective on the defensive line. And if they didn't have him, that defense would be atrocious.
Yes, and I mean, I want to give Zeke some credit because he's smaller. He's obviously not strong, and he's running back, so he's not going to be able to block well. But Aaron Donald picking up Zeke and throwing him like a rag doll.
He's a man's man.
That no one man should have that much strength, power, and speed.
It's ridiculous.
The speed and the quickness is not there. It really isn't. That was impressive. Now we get to move on to Monday night with the Steelers at the Giants, with the Steelers winning this one with a final score 26-16. And it was hard because I was really worried about Big Ben, at least in the first half, because he was looking slow. Like, slow. He was looking bad, if I do say so. But as time went on, as he got a little more comfortable in that pocket, as he got into the second half, he looked like the Big Ben of old, and that Steelers offense looked like the Steelers offense that you typically expect. James Conner was disappointing. Of course, he was out for most of the game with the sprained ankle, but then also, or like it was some ankle injury, right?
Yeah.
And then you had guys step up on that Steelers though. You had Juju having a great game. And that offensive line.
Benny Snell looked incredible.
Benny Snell stepped in. That's why I tried to put a waiver claim on him in 3 of my leagues. Benny Snell stepped in, and he was making some really good plays in the run game and out of the backfield catching balls. The offense looked great, but that defense, that front seven, was making a mess of the Giants.
I mean, so I'll start with the offensive part of it, and we don't need to spend much time on the Giants because this is just cry me a river, Giants fans. You guys have a bad team.
You have Jason Garrett. Okay.
Let's just call a spade a spade. But Ben in the first quarter, in the first couple of drives, looked extremely timid. He was talking about how he was nervous before this game, which, I mean, I think every NFL player gets nervous. I mean, at least when I played,
and this was
I
a big game
butterflies.
for Ben, too.
I got butterflies every time I stepped on the field.
There's a lot riding on this game for Big Ben.
Quarterback.
Coming back from his surgery, and he's still trying to be the face of the franchise.
But the thing about this team that Ben hasn't had before since the Troy Polamalu days is that this defense is nasty. That defensive line, I'm going to say it now, is the best defensive line in the NFL, and it is not close.
TJ Watt, man.
TJ Watt, Bud Dupree, Cam Hayward, Stephon Tuitt, they have all pros at every single position. And that play oh my gosh.
I think I heard Bud Dupree's name like every other play, and TJ Watt was always in the backfield.
That play that TJ Watt made on that drop coverage was one of the most incredible plays I've seen a D lineman make. I mean, just picture this. You have a tight end split out, running a quick stick route. This is a 3-step drop from the quarterback. 1, 2, 3, get the ball out to the right. TJ Watt realizes that it's a 3-step drop, takes 1 step at the quarterback, drops 1, 2 steps, and outstretches his body like Calvin Johnson, picks up the quarterback. Daniel Jones had 0 chance to complete that ball because TJ Watt is that much of a monster that he can sack the quarterback, cause fumbles, bat down passes, pick off passes.
He does everything. What can he do?
The Steelers' defensive line had 2 interceptions today. Him and Cam Hayward both had a pair. Are you kidding? Are you kidding me, Ross?
It's not supposed to happen, right?
No, it's not. It's really not.
I thought interceptions were like up to the cornerbacks and maybe sometimes linebackers, maybe sometimes safeties, but a D line getting 2 interceptions
and an interior D line at that too.
2 interceptions, and I swear that Watt family. I think their blood could save the human race and make superhumans out of them. Can we clone them?
I agree.
Can we just clone them?
I agree. I mean,
can we make an entire football league just with Watt DNA?
Yeah, I mean, I think it could replace the AAF pretty easily.
Oh, that was something, wasn't it? Now the nightcap of the first week.
I'm going to take a step back on this one.
All right. It
Just bask in it.
See,
Bask in
it
it.
was hard because as a Broncos fan, there was a lot of hope in this. There was a lot of really good things you could see from this team. That defense was still looking good even without Von Miller. There's a lot of hope for them. But at the same time, my biggest thing is that the Denver Broncos are becoming a perennial choker that cannot manage the clock. If we go back to 2019, 3 games where they're up by one with less than 2 minutes to go. The first one, they're up 14-13 on the Bears with 30 seconds left. They lose that game. Later, up 24 to
Oh my
23 on the
gosh.
Jags with a minute 27 left. They lose that game. They're up 13 to 12 on the Colts with a minute 48 left. You guessed it. They lose that game. Now in
I'm sensing a
20
trend.
Arya, do you get the pattern yet, Alex? Because now we're in 2020. Supposed to be a new year, new me, new Broncos. Up 14-13 on the Titans with a minute 50 left, and you guys all know the rest. But also, I just want to have a little beef here. So, they should have had the interception around the third quarter, but Alexander Johnson gets flagged for the penalty was it was like roughing a player that wasn't close to that was out of the
Yeah,
play.
it was like unnecessary roughness on a player not involved in the play. I think it was the first time I'd ever heard those words said by
Is
a
that
ref,
a
but
real penalty?
I
That
didn't even see. They
changed.
didn't even show the
No,
replay on
they
ESPN.
didn't even show the replay. That's if they don't even show the replay. That's how you know that it's not real. There's a conspiracy in the NFL against the Denver Broncos. We saw this with the Bears game. There's a bunch of BS happening in that last drive. I might just sound like a homer, but the NFL is out against the Denver Broncos because they are scared of Drew Lock.
I mean, I'm not going to try to pronounce that corner's name, but it was a rookie corner's first interception in the
It was
league,
a
and
great
just
play
take it
too.
away.
It was a
It was an
really good
incredible
snag.
play.
He jumped the route perfectly.
Can you pronounce his name for me so I don't
I
have to butcher
can't.
it on,
I
on
can't
live air?
pronounce his name for you. I.
Okay. Well, he did have a great game. I mean, when AJ Boye went out, I thought they were in serious trouble, but
And
he held his own in that game, and I thought
he
that
showed real promise, and it showed that he was a
agreed.
good pick. He's going to
Agreed.
get another
And
interception, and
and,
it's not going
and
to get
one
called back.
one play that stuck out from this game is that everyone thought that the Broncos linebacking core was going to be one of their weak spots with Von Miller going out and their departures. But Josie Jewell absolutely laid out Derrick Henry
2 yards in the
in
backfield.
the first half. I mean, it
That
was crazy. I mean, Derrick Henry got shook, and I think Josie Jewell weighs less than Derrick
He
Henry.
does. He's
And
smaller.
He got
All around smaller.
absolutely destroyed by Josie Jewell.
Jewell, perfect. He was the best tackler one of the best tacklers Iowa has ever had. And it showed
Yep.
because he just read that play. He sat in the hole, he did his little shuffle, and he hit that gap hard, and he destroyed it. And the Broncos, to be fair, they minimized Derrick Henry for almost the entire game. He mostly had like 2-3 yard gains. They did really good there. There's a lot of hope from them. But Drew Lock's touchdown pass in that game, where he's rolling out to the right, throws across his body into the middle of the field on a salvage play. No fan right there in the end zone. That was a really good pass. Drew Lock could be a gunslinger.
That was one of the worst decisions I've ever made that I've ever seen in week one. But to have that kind of gall to roll out to the right, I mean, you saw his eyes. He said, Noah, go to your right. I will throw you the football. And he zings it through 2 defenders across his body right to the goal line. I mean, that throw took some balls, and at least you can give Drew Lock that he's not afraid to make those kind of throws. It's not something that is going to be sustainable over the long term,
Probably
but
not.
at least you have a quarterback that's not like Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco 10 times out of 10 is going to throw that ball out of the back of the end zone because he's like, oh, let's just live to play it.
I wouldn't say 10 times out of 10. I would say 5 times out of 10, with the other 5 going to the hands of the defense.
That's very true. I mean, is Joe Flacco elite? I think we all know the answer to that.
Yes.
But that's why John Lynch or
John Elway.
where's the Broncos? John Elway paid him so much money because he was 6'7" and a Super Bowl winner.
This could be the Broncos' solution to the quarterback carousel that's been going ever since they lost Peyton Manning. Fingers crossed. We will see. They play the Steelers on Sunday, so that That's a big game right there.
Yeah, get ready for 0-2, but that's fine.
It's okay, Alex, because I'm always ready for disappointment. I'm a Broncos fan. All right. And now, so there's our wrap up of the games. Let's. So it's week one, as I
Solid week
mentioned.
one. Solid week one.
Phenomenal.
Really good week one.
But let's talk in
Couldn't
this,
ask for
Alex,
much more.
because you want to know what week one of the NFL season for, or week one of any season? It's time to make some total overreactions and just to have the hottest takes of the year. But let's bring in week one overreactions or underreactions. We haven't had this segment in God knows how long, but it's finally back because the NFL is back. So,
Oh yeah.
and longtime viewers will know this one. It's a classic. But new ones, new viewers, we have 5 statements this week, and then we will go through them one by one and decide if that's an overreaction or underreaction. The first one, Alex, I think you might like this one. Jamie Garoppolo is the worst quarterback in the NFC West. Overreaction or underreaction?
I mean, I don't know what the term is for you're completely right, but here's the crazy thing about this comment is I think this is more of a testament to how good the other quarterbacks in the NFC West are. I mean, you knew Russell was the best quarterback in the NFC West. That's
yes.
It's not close. Jimmy G and Jared Goff are very similar quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
They're good when the team is playing well, when the defense is rolling, when they're not asked to do much, when they're just, kind of relying on their offensive play calls, putting them in the right positions.
The run game, if we want to talk about last year's playoffs.
Exactly. And Kyler had the opportunity to be a top 5 quarterback this year. And I think just out of week one, he showed, that kind of promise, coming true. So even if Jimmy G is the worst quarterback in the NFC West, this Niners team could still win the division, which is the crazy part about it.
That division is phenomenal. But as of now, Jimmy G is maybe not he's the worst and maybe even the least talented quarterback in the NFC West. I am calling this, if anything, it's an underreaction.
No, I agree.
Next one is that the Browns are just not a good team. If anything, the Cleveland Browns suck.
If there was a word for an underreaction, that's an underreaction to the underreaction, this is that.
Did I put this statement too lightly?
This Browns team is horrible.
This Browns team is the epitome of just overhyped, underperforming dog crap. I get it because the Browns mascot, the Browns crap. Even better. I'm the best host ever.
I mean, God bless you see a theme there. Yeah. And this Browns team just has nothing to be excited about on the field. On paper, they're an incredible team.
They have all the talent you need.
You look at them play week after week. They just are a bad team. And if you're the GM of that team, you look at where do I improve this team? Quarterback. Yes, probably. But how are we going to do that? He's the first overall pick, 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. Can we improve the receiving corps? No, we paid these guys a bunch of money. Can we improve the tight ends? Oh, no, we just paid we paid a guy
made him a record-making contract.
Yeah, do we improve the running backfield? No. I mean, they have good players there. The offensive line, they drafted a guy in the first round to play in the offensive line. Do we need to improve our
pass rush? No, I think Myles Garrett can still hit people in the head.
They have nothing to improve, and they're still a bad team.
It's the chemistry, right?
This is one of the most. This is one of the most disappointing teams of 2020 so far, and I think that trend is going to continue.
The Browns, either the Browns have no talent in the crap team, or they have all the talent in the crap team. I honestly, really, truly do feel sorry for any Cleveland Browns fan out there because it's either you're bad and you're bad, or you're good and you're still bad, and that's just sad.
Quick poll for you, Ross. Gun to your head. You had to be a Lions fan or a Browns fan for the rest of your life. What are you picking?
Lions, because Matthew Stafford is the most underrated quarterback in the league. I'd rather watch him.
That's a fair point.
And at least the Lions had a
sad
chance.
Position to be in.
Right? At least the Lions had the chance this week. Okay.
Yeah.
So there was hope.
True.
There was hope.
It's true.
It's
not a good situation either way.
No, can we just say they're not good? Leave it at that.
Agreed.
But on the other kind of side of the spectrum, the Cardinals are the real deal. Overreaction, underreaction.
I mean, this is an overreaction, dude. I mean, this Cardinals team is good. They're Their offense is exciting at times, but the thing is that I think their peak is a 9-7 team, maybe 10-6
They
if they
get
get a
lucky.
couple good breaks. But it's just like the real deal means to me, they're a top four team, they're a
Hmm.
division winner, and I just don't think they have the disciplined defense to be able to do that. Isaiah Simmons
Hmm.
didn't look great today or on Sunday. He had a couple blown coverages. He looked like a rookie, and I just don't think that defense has a high enough ceiling to be able to compete week after week. And unless you have good Kyler games
Hmm.
every single week, they're just they're an above average team, but I think they're in that 10 to 15 range, and that to me is not the real deal.
I gotta agree with you. They could be a solid team.
Yeah,
They could be a legitimately good team. They could hell, like I already
yeah,
said, they're going to make the playoffs as a 7 seed this year.
yeah.
But the real deal, are they really a Super Bowl contender? Not yet. We will have to wait to
Not
see.
even
But
close.
as of now, overreaction, total overreaction.
Agreed.
Here's this next one. If we want to talk a little fantasy, Saquon Barkley is the most overrated fantasy player this year.
This is another overreaction, and you're on a hot streak here, Ross. But this, like we said before, this Pittsburgh Steelers defensive line is really, really good. They're
Hmm.
incredible at getting penetration. I mean, Bud Dupree and TJ Watt were shedding their blocks, getting into the backfield, causing havoc. Like, I mean, I think he had, 8 carries for -6 yards or something in the
Yeah.
first half. He could not get free. It wasn't on Saquon Barkley,
Well, he
it was on
averaged,
his
I think it
offensive
was
line.
negative .2 yards a yard, or it was like something negative in yards per carry before contact.
Yeah,
So
I
he
mean,
was almost all. So pretty much the stat means
yeah,
every single run play he was getting touched in the backfield.
he didn't have a chance to get free. He didn't have any running lanes. He didn't have any
And
holes.
if you're
This
PPR,
is
he
not
still
on
made out with 12
Saquon.
points.
Yeah, this isn't on Saquon Barkley. This is on the offensive line, and they got abused by a better Pittsburgh Steelers
Yes.
defense. This is an overreaction. If I were any fantasy player out there that sees a Saquon Barkley owner panicking, go trade for him now. His value is not going to be any lower, and ride him for the rest of the year because this man is talented. He's going to get the carries. He's going to get the action in the passing game. He's going to be able to put points up week after week. This is an
Exactly.
overreaction. Barkley's still a good
If
player.
you're lacking in your running back position right now, go out and try to trade for Saquon because chances are they'll
Mm-hmm.
panic, they'll give up on them already, and this is the cheapest you can ever get Saquon for this season, without a
Yep,
doubt.
agreed.
Without a doubt.
Agreed.
Now, the last statement this week is that Aaron Rodgers is the early MVP candidate after week 1.
I'll say this isn't an overreaction. I mean, this is I think right in the middle of it because the statement itself is just a dumb statement. I mean, you have an early MVP favorite after week 1. Yeah, I
Yep.
mean, you just pick the guy who has the best stats on the team that won. Like, good job, Ross. You
Thank
picked
you.
Aaron Rodgers. You put up a bunch of stats this
Thank you
week, but
so
this
much.
is one of those things where I think they abuse a battered and young Minnesota Vikings
In
defense.
your
I mean,
opinion, though, the question is then, is Aaron Rodgers going to be able to keep this up?
I don't think so. I think he's gonna have one of those years where he gets underappreciated from the media. He
Mm-hmm.
gets that tag of is he washed up? Is he done for? They brought in Jordan Love. I think he's gonna have a really good year, but I think there's too many other players that have a sustainable path to MVP type stats that Aaron
Mm-hmm.
Rodgers is just not going to be able to keep up
Like
with. I
Lamar
mean,
Jackson, or
yeah, I mean,
hell, I guess the statement really should have been after week 1. Does Russell Wilson actually get MVP vote this year?
he needs to. I mean, that guy is
At
that
the
guy is
least,
an
he might not
MVP.
be the
He's an
MVP.
MVP.
Just give him the vote, please. Just
Yeah.
it's
I
ridiculous
mean,
that he doesn't even have one vote. Not one
it's crazy. I
vote.
mean, so if you want to look at that statement, no, it's not an overreaction that Aaron Rodgers is the early MVP favorite, but I don't think that's saying much.
That's very fair. I just want to throw out that because, honestly, I love the post morning football shows after week 1 because I swear these hot takes are everywhere, especially when you want to watch undisputed. Skip, 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 skip. Oh my, that the show is a mess. I do like
Oh yeah,
Good Morning Football. That is a good one. That's probably my
that is
favorite
good
one.
fun. Nate Burleson's so entertaining.
He's a lot of fun. He really is.
Yeah.
But don't watch them. Watch us or watch both because that's fine. This is all you
Yeah.
need.
Listen to this podcast.
That's all. That's what we need. But here now it's time to cap things off with power rankings. Week 2 power rankings, and this is going to piss some people off. Alex, I know you're going to get hot
Me
on this.
included.
You're going to get hot on this, and I just want to do this not only to stir the pot a little bit, but there might be some truth behind this too. So starting at number 5, we have the New Orleans Saints, who are down a spot. To be fair, they still beat up on a hyped Tampa Bay team, but at the same time, I see them as this because they may have won, but other teams look better. And I was never that hot on the Tampa Bay Bucks to begin with. They weren't even a playoff team in my mind. So it wasn't a statement game like a lot of people made it out to be. Your take on this, though?
I don't understand how one of the early favorites to win the NFC wins by 2 scores against a division rival with all the hype, with
It's just
a 40
hype. It's
plus.
not real.
Dude,
It's just hype.
the Bucks are a good team. They're going to be a good team going forward, I think. But here's the problem I have with this power rankings and this shift is you face a division rival. You beat them by 2 scores and you move them down one. What is your basis off of
My
that?
base is the
I don't
next team though.
understand.
My base is the next team because we have the Green Bay Packers who overperformed more than anyone thought. This Vikings team was honestly this defense was way more hyped than the Bucks defense ever was.
Yeah.
And the Packers go out and they just drop a deuce on them. Aaron Rodgers makes everyone regret anything they said. There's a lot of people saying that there's always been like over the last 10 years or whatever the stat is, one of the 4 teams that actually makes it to championship weekend doesn't make the playoffs the next year. A lot of people said that was the Packers. The Packers go shut everyone up. They go from unranked to number 4 this week. That's why. It's not nothing
Yeah.
that the Saints necessarily did bad. I think the Packers overperformed.
I think they did too, but I don't see the merit in putting the Saints down one and putting the Packers above them
Where the
when
Roger Packers
they
5 and then Saints 4.
yeah, I mean, I just think that the Packers they won by the same margin in a very similar situation, a division rival at home, won by 2 scores, 9 and 11 points. It's not that big
I
of a
like the
difference.
Packers. I mean, who cares about home field advantage? Because I guess that's not a thing anymore. But they were on the road. I don't, do you want to give merit to
Yeah,
that or?
I don't know. I think that this Packers team has, they have a lot of promise, but the defense got abused. The
Mhm.
defense got exposed. Kirk Cousins is not an upper echelon quarterback, and he made Adam Thielen look like he was Calvin Johnson in this game. And I don't agree with this ranking at all. I think the Packers are a good team. I think
Mhm.
they're a top 10 team in the league, but I don't see the top 4 type of talent that this Packers team has, and I think you're going to see that over the next couple weeks. But as week 2 power rankings
Mhm.
go, these are subject to change, and it's going to change.
It's 100% going to change. Number
Mhm.
3, I had the Seahawks moving up 2 spots. This I know you had something to say about this. It was mostly because their offense was clicking on all levels. Russell Wilson, MVP caliber right there. Chris Carson looking really, really good out of the backfield. Maybe not as a runner, but as a pass catcher, he was making a lot of plays. DK Metcalf can still take the roof off of a defense if he wants to actually catch the ball because Russell Wilson, like we mentioned, 4 touchdowns, 4 incompletions, with 2 of them being drops. Now, to be fair, the place where they were lacking was their defense because they gave up 450 yards to Matt Ryan, 2 touchdowns. But 1 touchdown and about 200 yards was garbage time when they were just playing prevent defense and just letting them dink and dunk all underneath them. Then Jamal Adams was making huge, huge plays for them. I really like what that defense can do, and if they actually played a full game, they would not have given that up to the Falcons. That's why I had them number 3.
I think this is first off a bad take. I mean, this is just not the right ranking for this team. They gave up 25 points and 450 pass yards to an offense that, granted, is a good offense, but for a team that is supposed to be, you know, put the weight of the game on Russell Wilson's shoulders, let him go perform. And I just don't think that this team has the makeup of a top three team in the NFL. And here's my hot take of the week. I think they are the third best team in the NFC West, not the third best team in the NFL.
You know what? That is pretty spicy. If I had to rate that, I would give you a solid habanero right there, Chief.
I think that the Rams are the third best team in the NFL right now. The
The
way that they
Rams or the
performed, and I think that the way that their starting lineup is formed right now, their defense at every single level has an incredible talent. Their offense, when it's clicking the right way and their offensive line is blocking the way that they do, I mean, 40 rushes for 153 yards and 2 touchdowns is it's not a great average, but they grinded out this game. Their play action game was incredible. Jared Goff, when he gets in rhythm and he's throwing those crossing routes to Woods, to Cup, to Higbee, to all these guys, and you don't have to, give the ball to Todd Gurley 25 times because you feel obligated anymore. You can give the ball to Cam Akers, you
now
can give the
that's the
ball to
Falcons
Malcolm
problem.
Brown. Yeah, and that's the thing is I think that the Rams are just a significantly better team than the Seahawks right now, and I think you'll see this when they play each other.
I'm
Later
really
down the
looking
road.
forward to that matchup. Whenever it
Me
is,
too. Me too.
it's going to show who the real team is, who's a pretender and who's a contender, without a doubt. But now
Agreed.
I think these top two teams are a little less of takes. I think they're a little more agreeable. I have the
Agreed.
Chiefs at the number two spot, down one from the previous ranking, because they put on a good game against
Yep.
the Texans, of course. Not a good team. Neither are the Browns. For I'll say the right now the
Playoff team
Ravens
from
are the
last year, though.
best. Yeah, they are a playoff team though,
Yeah.
and they're respectable. I was expecting a little more from the Chiefs. To be fair, Clyde Edwards-Helaire did look amazing in his debut. They hardly pushed the ball downfield, and they're still making a lot of plays. But to me, the number one team was the Ravens, and that's why they jumped the Chiefs, because I think they just played a more complete game, and they put more of a they made a bigger statement in Week 1, I believe.
Agreed. And I think this is just a case of the Ravens are an incredible regular season team. They're going to put up
Mm-hmm.
the numbers. They're going to go 14-2, 13-3. They have the offense to grind you out. They have a defense that's aggressive enough to create some turnovers. And when you give Lamar Jackson some extra possessions, he's going to put points on the board. And they're going to be 1-2 all year. The Chiefs and the Ravens, I think, have the two best quarterbacks in the NFL, the two
Mm-hmm.
best offenses in the NFL,
Mm-hmm.
and they're going to show that in the regular season. What it's going to really come down to is who's going to show up in the playoffs.
Also, who's going to
think
play our
that's the
defense,
Chiefs.
which is why
Yep.
I think it's the Ravens. But of course, this one too, it's really more 1A and 1B.
Exactly. These two teams are even, and it's the big thing that I kind of
Like
took away
the
from
reason
week
they were
one.
top, it's like this much. That's why they barely
Yeah.
moved up. It's like they edged them out barely. It's a
Yeah,
toss up.
and I think it doesn't matter who's 1 and 2 throughout the year.
No.
But what I really picked up from week one was that there's such a big gap between these two teams and the rest of the NFL that these teams are on a collision course again for a deep playoff run, and it's going to take a lot of convincing for me to believe that there's going to be a third team to contend with these two at the top of the
I
NFL.
think the biggest shame is that these teams can't have a Super Bowl with each other.
I know.
Think that's
I know.
the worst thing.
Sucks.
Is what it is. But there you go. The Saints, Packers, Seahawks, Chiefs, Ravens. With Alex saying that the Rams should actually be the third best team in the NFL. Already losing on the Cowboys. Damn, no loyalty to the Cowboys whatsoever.
They're six.
It's a
They're
shame.
six.
No, no.
They might be five.
They
I
might
think
as
the
well.
Packers
They're
are out.
unranked, is
The
what that
Packers
is.
are out.
You're either
The
top
Packers are
5
out.
or you're nothing. And the worst
Yeah, the
team
Packers
in
should
the
be out.
league right now after week 1, it's the Cleveland Browns.
Or the Jets. Two guys that are the two top picks in the quarterback class that was supposed to be so highly touted are
Okay,
weirdly
Alex,
the
here
two
we go.
worst teams
Before
in
we
the
end
NFL.
this, put you on the spot like you did. Who would you rather have as your franchise quarterback, Baker Mayfield or Sam Darnold?
Baker Mayfield, he's gonna at least get some ticket sales.
There we go. I love it. But that's going to wrap it for us in our week 1 coverage of the NFL. You can expect this stuff weekly as the season goes on. And not to have Alex back on because apparently you guys like him enough for whatever reason. I don't really see it, but
I don't know either.
apparently he's entertaining. But of course, it's
Thanks
always
for
a
having me
pleasure.
on again, Ross.
Oh, of course. You got to have the hot takes, and just some really good stuff. I love the little argument, but you're wrong. It's all good. We'll see. The NFL season will continue to progress, and it'll just prove that I'm just a genius, if we can say that.
We'll see.
But of course, check us out everywhere. We are on Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube, anywhere else you get your podcast. Check out www.thefourthandlong.com for anything Fourth and Long. You keep up to date with everything. Twitter at Fourth Long Radio, Instagram at Fourth and Long Radio. We do everything there. We have a lot of fun stuff, a lot of interaction with our fans. So be there, follow us, because we love you all, and we do really appreciate it. But like I said, go and wrap it. And we will catch you guys in episode 51 when we talk about fantasy football, the Clippers choke job, and new stuff in the MLB. We'll see you later.